Hello, my name is Sarah Glofcheskie. I'm parent to an autistic child, a daughter who's now 12 years old. And as part of my journey with my daughter, I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. I left an executive role in eClinical and in science to found a company that really brought together both my personal and my professional experience based on what I had gone through with my daughter. So a little bit about my daughter and I. My daughter, as I mentioned, she's now 12 years old. But when she was 3 years old, she started to go through some changes. So my daughter had been speaking in full sentences, in more than one language, actually 3 languages, drawing pictures, met all of her so-called developmental milestones physically, etc. And then in a period of about 3 months, went through some change. She had trouble speaking. She had trouble communicating in the same way. She had trouble holding a pencil and a crayon. And she was actually communicating that these things were becoming difficult for her. So I was quite concerned. Also, at the same time, she started to experience some physical pain. And she was young, she was 3, and she was expressing this through crying. But I didn't know all what was behind it. I was in school at the time when my daughter was going through this change. I was doing my MBA, and I was very busy. And so I probably didn't notice some of the changes maybe as quickly as I could have, or notice how significant they were. But when I finished my MBA, in the first week, I thought, wow, we really need to do something here to help Flynn because she's suffering. And so we'd been living in Europe at the time. I decided to move back to where I'm from, to Canada, so that I could navigate things in my native language. And I was hoping that things would be a little bit easier for us if we returned home. So what we encountered upon our return and where we sought help certainly was disappointing for us. I made appointments with medical professionals and quickly confirmed my suspicion about Flynn and that she is autistic, which I was absolutely fine with. I welcome so many things about Flynn and how unique and intelligent and special she is. But my concern was that we weren't getting her medical needs addressed from the beginning. So what we encountered was, yes, we got the diagnosis confirmed, but when I expressed Flynn's behavior, so crying, she would cry all night, and she wanted to drink 2 liters of milk a night if we would let her. She wanted to withdraw more than she ever had. She didn't want to engage in the play and things that she had enjoyed swimming as she had in the past. And so I reported these symptoms to medical professionals because I wanted diagnostics to be done. I wanted to know what might be causing her pain. And unfortunately, when I described Flynn's behavior, it was dismissed as autistic behavior and not physical pain or distress. And I didn't accept that. I thought, no, I know my child, and I know she's not feeling good. She's been able to communicate that she's in pain. And so what I did is I actually withdrew from work, from my job for several months, and I focused on learning everything that I could about health conditions and how they present in autistic children, and learned very much about how the clinical presentation of health challenges in autistic children can look very different than a neurotypical child. And unfortunately, just as in our case, a lot of the time, these conditions get dismissed as simply behavior. And then unfortunately, you can end up in a cycle of trying to address behavior when there is a very good reason for that behavior, and it can be an expression of pain, discomfort, fear, etc. So I needed to learn, what were the puzzle pieces that connected for my child? What are the dots that we needed to connect in order to address her specific needs? And the way in which I did that is probably consulting with no less than 60 different professionals, going through clinical research over the last decade, going through different resources and consulting with everyone who I could in order to put together data and then advocate for diagnostics to be done for my child. This approach was successful. We actually learned that Flynn had 3 different fairly serious health conditions. And when they were addressed, we had a different child. We had a happier child, one happier to engage again. She wasn't going through these periods of pain and overwhelm like she had been before. And I thought, what a tragedy that we weren't listened to, that her symptoms were dismissed. And then what a tragedy that I had to leave my job and go to such an extreme extent to educate myself, and I have a science background, in order to learn what would help my own daughter. So for the next few years, I worked really hard at my job, and I worked hard to pay for all of these things that weren't covered. I had Flynn in a private school, one that fit our ethics in terms of how she would be treated, her interests would be fostered, and all of her needs would be met, her sensory needs, her emotional needs, her social needs. But it was very hard. And I always had in the back of my mind that, this approach that I was able to take with my daughter and what I wanted to continue is something that everybody should have access to, and that it is a human right. And so I made the decision to leave my job and our security and found a company called BeMe.ai. And BeMe's mission was born out of our journey, but then, the hundreds of other families that I have talked to over the last decade, to build a product that would allow this approach, very similar to what I had done with my daughter, but also bring in, by now, over 30 different experts of different domains have contributed to the platform, and a product that would not only help elicit insights and health conditions, but aid in daily life, connect people, and provide a source of education. So over the last almost 3 years at BeMe, we've been building this. It's really been a community in many levels driven effort. It's been humbling, the number of people who have come together to contribute in different ways to BeMe, volunteering their time even. We've now been able to support hundreds of families in providing them insights that could have taken months or even years to arrive at, and in many cases, medically, things that maybe never would have even been diagnosed. So we feel like we're well on our way with our mission, and we're now working on expanding that globally. We've been serving families in Canada and the United States, but we also are working with families in Europe and in Africa. We're also now working with organizations that are neuroaffirming, and organizations that respect and involve the autistic voice, autistic input in everything that they do. So we're very much about walking the talk and partnering with and facilitating an approach that is very inclusive. We also we are a neurodiverse team. We have on our executive team autistic individuals, and then what we call our family success team, who support our users, are either parents to autistic children and or are autistic themselves. So we've seen the benefits of what true neurodiversity in a healthy and collaborative environment can mean. And we want to expand that approach in the larger business sphere as we move forward as well as with research. So I'd be very happy if you would be interested in learning more about BeMe. You can reach out to us at any time, and make other families or organizations aware of what we're doing and our mission. So I hope that you see me and my life's path here over the last 12 years as an example of, things can come together. We can do good things. People will help when you dream big. So thanks for listening, and I hope to connect.